Hey guys, Ken Selville here today, just having a look at some of the begonia cuttings. It's something I like to do from time to time, and it's really quite a process, and it takes a little longer than what you would think, but it does generally turn out okay. You know, fingers crossed. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to tell you the process. I've had some begonia rexes. These are begonia rex specifically. Types of begonias really grown for their foliage, not so much their flowers. But when I go out, I'm often pruning and clipping on them to remove leaves that might be damaged. I'll just pull out a few here. Like this one has been damaged. Not exactly sure how, but it looks like tatter of some sort. But anyway, a little bit of brown discoloration. So when I'm cleaning up the begonias, I often will scavenge a few of the leaves that are around so I can propagate them. So most plants don't propagate by their foliage. They usually will propagate by stems. Like this is a plectranthus here, silverleaf plectranthus, and this one will root quite easily just from stem cuttings. And so that's how we would normally root those, is by actually just taking one of these little stem cuttings like so, and just breaking it off. Sometimes you can put a little rooting hormone on it. Usually you don't need it. And you can just push it into the soil, and lo and behold, it will root. And it's quite a beautiful little plant. But I just brought that along to show you sort of typical stem cuttings. But these begonia leaves, you can see here's one that's tattered quite a bit, and it's got some brown discoloration. This one got a little bit of sunburn when it first went outside. So that's snipped off and removed, but it could still be used for cuttings. So I saved that one, and here's another beauty here, and another really pretty one. This one is one I'm really looking forward to growing. Because I have a few good leaf examples here, I'm just going to show you right away how I do this, and it's super easy to do. The key is, as you can see, that I've used this little bag to collect the cuttings in the first place. So when I go outside, it could be hot in the afternoon or whatever, but I'll bring a baggie like this, Ziploc bag, and I just put a little bit of water in there. You can see a little bit of water in the corner of the bag here. I just basically get some moisture in there, some humidity. I bring the bag with me with the moisture in it. Then when I collect my cuttings, I drop them into the bag, and then I Ziploc it up so it stays nice and humid like a little greenhouse in there. So just something that suggested that that's a great little tip for collecting cuttings. And I took these cuttings like yesterday, so they're just sitting in that bag. They're fine as long as they're in that humid little environment. They won't wilt or anything, and they'll be good to go. So, okay, so we're going to have a look at the next step. So I've collected the cuttings. I brought them here to my my laboratory, and this is basically what the leaf looks like. Now, where the leaves will root is typically right around the central part of the leaf. So they'll sometimes send out roots out of the leaf stem here. This is the petiole. And sometimes they'll even send out roots and shoots right off these little veins that run up the backside of the begonia leaves. It's just sort of unique to Begonia rex. This is how the cuttings are typically done. So what I'll usually do with cuttings like this, I'll just snip them off a little bit, just so I get a nice little clean cutting like so, approximately maybe a little more than an inch long. And then what I want to do is I want to find these veins here that are all radiating from that point, and I want to make sure that they get best situated inside of my pot. So I've just got a 4-inch pot here that's filled with some fresh, clean potting soil. And you don't actually have to press this stem into the soil, but I do tend to like to do that. So what I'll do is I'll just put a little dent sort of in this corner of the pot, in one corner, and then I'll put my cutting sort of in that position. And I'm just going to lay it right on top of the soil, like so. And I can actually cut this, which I'll often just use a pair of scissors, and I'll just snip this. And there's a reason why I'm going to snip this, so I'll just show you. So I'm just going to trim this off a little bit to sort of more fit my pot, like so. and it sort of squares it off. There we go. And so there we have that. And now I should have a few hairpins here somewhere. There they are. So I'll often take a little hairpin like this. You can see that. And I will open it up so that it makes sort of like a right angle shape like this. And what I'll do is I'll just press this into the soil so that it lays across the top of the leaf. And you can see what that looks like there. Hopefully you can see that. You can see this one's black, the other ones will be easier to see. And that creates this really nice environment where the leaf is pressed just lightly against the surface of the soil. And some of these other areas, I just make sure they're held down. I could put more than one in if I wanted to. And then what I do is I'll take my little water spritzer and I'm just going to spritz this down, get some moisture on that leaf. And then I'm going to take a little sandwich baggie, like so, and I'm just going to put it over top of this pot. Sometimes a little bit tricky. There we go. And so you can see it's not a perfect seal, but it's a pretty good seal all the way around the top. And I've got the moisture in there, so I've just created this little greenhouse effect. You can see inside there's my leaf. And I can just press it down a little bit more, make sure it's in contact with the soil just lightly. It doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be in that environment. So the key with begonias, they like high humidity. In order to produce roots, they need to have very high humidity. So that's why the little baggie is here. And I'll be showing you some of these other ones here as well. This is one that I did before. I'll show you that one. But let's just continue on here. I'll get this one done up. I'll do exactly the same process. Cut this off about 1 inch long. It's going to make a little dent in the corner just for that little guy to go in there. I'm going to press that in there so it fits best way, like so. I'm going to use my scissors and trim it off just along the edge. So my plastic bag will fit on. That's the only real reason. Get my bobby. No, it's not a bobby pin. I don't think it's a bobby pin. I think it's a hairpin. There we go. And one side's got a little sort of rough or bent edge on it that's got a little bit more grip. So I push that into the soil. And then I just push that in like so and make sure it holds itself down. Going to give that a little spritz. Hopefully you can see that. And we put another bag on it, like so. So there's my hairpin on there. Put that over top of this one. Go. Just push that down a bit. Voila. And my last one in this batch. I'm just going to do 2 of these ones because I like this one a lot. Go. And you can obviously do as many of these as you like because it is possible that some of these may not take, so you have to be sort of patient with them a little bit. And there's some to the edge like that. There we go. So the key with the begonia cuttings is you got to be patient. And I was almost losing my patience with this last one. I actually did the cuttings, I believe it was right at the beginning of April this year. And I hadn't seen any kind of growth or anything for so long. Here I was into end of May and I didn't see any kind of movement. But I looked really closely at the center, that center part right in the leaf here, and I saw some little bubbling growths. It looked like potentially some roots starting in there. And I thought, oh, that's kind of cool. Something's going on. And then next thing you know, it started to grow and it started to send up shoots all over the place. And it was awesome. It was a great little routine. That's this one sitting here. And I'll just take that one out. I got to show you the next step. It's very, very important. It's one of the key, most important steps to growing begonia cuttings from leaves. Remember I was saying how important it is to have the high humidity for begonias. And so then there's another thing you can do, and I'll just show you on this one, is you can actually just puncture a little hole in the plastic. So we can go holeless or put a little hole in it, or you can even just take just a little piece off the side like that. And then you can take your mister bottle and just shoot it straight in there like so. Give it a little extra humidity. And if you wanted to, you could put a little pin or a little clip on this to keep that closed if you like. You'll find if it's a small hole, it doesn't make that much difference as long as you're paying attention to it, because it still creates a nice humid environment. So that's the basics of sticking the leaf cutting in. And now we're going to look at this one that I did here a couple of, like I say, a couple months ago. So it does take sometimes up to 5 months for these cuttings to root and grow. So that was something that like I've grown them before, and it depends on the time of year. They'll vary a little bit, but usually about that, at least about 3 months anyway. So I did these ones beginning of April, and they started to show signs around the end of May. So it was 2 full months, and now we're just approaching the 3rd month, and they've actually grown. So what I did at that point was I have a hole in the side here. So there's a little hole that I have in the side of the bag, which I opened up once the plant started to show some signs of growth, because I just wanted to let a little bit of natural air in there to get them used to the environment a little bit. Because that's one thing, they love that humidity, and it's the high humidity that really stimulates them to get going. And so with this guy, I opened up a little hole, let some air in there, I spritzed some more water in there. Actually, one day I had a little bit of water-soluble 15-30-15 water-soluble fertilizer that I put in there. And I just put a little drizzle in there, and that just helped give these guys a little bit of food. Now you can see I've opened up a little bit bigger hole here, and this is how I might do it depending on the time of year and how hot it is. If the environment's very hot, I'll sometimes just open up like this for maybe a day or so before I actually do anything with it. Just again to get it used to the environment slowly, and so that it doesn't get too panicky. Sometimes when they get stressed out, they'll go through some weird leaf defoliations and whatnot. So anyway, I'm just going to show you this now, is that if you look inside this, you'll see that there's my leaf. You see the leaf there on the bottom? And so you can see that the thing has just exploded all from the center there. You can see here, I'm just sort of showing you all those shoots coming up from the sides around that leaf. So what my goal would be at this point is just to get it to go a little bit more, get used to this environment. And once it starts to get sort of used to the environment and grows a little bit more sturdy, because I have to allow the roots in this pot to root out so it holds the soil mass together. Then what I'll do is I'll take this guy and I'll just carefully pop him out, and I'll put him into a bigger pot, something like a 6-inch pot like this one. And this is where it's going to go. These I think are 5.5-inch round pots. And I'll be moving this guy into this particular pot. So again, this is a very pretty lavender. It's called Begonia Rex Lavender. So it's got a lavender, pinkish lavender tone to its foliage, which I really like. One of my favorites. So I'm glad I got this one to go first, and then I'll be growing this one on, and then I'll be getting these other ones going here and enjoying those. Again, right now we're around the end of June, so I would expect that by the time these guys are up and going. It's probably going to be into August. So in August, that's where, again, I'll do the same procedure. I'll cut these bags open, let a little bit of air in, might give them a little bit of fertilizer water in there. Hopefully they're growing like this one did. And then, yeah, just cut a little opening, let a little bit of fresh air get in, maybe open it a little bit more depending on how I'm feeling. If I feel like they need just more of a gradual, a gradual opportunity to adapt to the environment. So if I'm worried about it, again, I can take at any time. I can put plastic over top of this guy again if I would like, and again I can mist them. Sometimes when you first get them out, you might give them a little mist just to relieve the stress a little bit of the area. The begonias, they love the humidity, so they like it to be warm and humid. And so, yeah, so this is basically how you do it. And I think it's really quite a fun thing to do. It gives me a charge, whenever I deal with begonias or any kind of plants and I'm able to propagate them, there's something about it. It just makes me feel good inside, and I like it. I think it's really cool. And especially growing begonia cuttings from leaves, I think it's kind of a fun thing to try. So look it up, Begonia Rex, and look at all the different colored leaves that they have. They're a plant that's grown predominantly for their foliage. I put them in my annual planters, my shade planters. They're best in partially shaded areas, but they have such bright, vivid colors on their foliage. It's just fabulous. They make a great plant for your annual planters. So there you go. That's it for today. Thanks so much for tuning in to Grower Coach. Don't forget to like and subscribe. See you again soon.